Hello there, spooky friends. Welcome to another episode of Storytime with the Scariest Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace. This is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
And today we are here to read you folks some homegrown horrors. Adam's going to tell us what those are. Tell us what those are.
Homegrown horrors are the wonderful stories that you folks have sent to us and entrusted us to read to the listening and viewing audience. They can be stories that are paranormal, supernatural, sometimes true crime, sometimes coincidental where nothing actually happened, that you just scared yourself and it's hilarious. And anything in that nature. It can be something that happened to you, a friend, family member, any loved one, and they've let you know, hey, this is a pretty cool story, and you're like, that is a cool story, I'm going to send it over to Scary-ish, and then you must force them, if it's their story, to listen to us read it. That way they can send us the rest of their stories. It's just a way that we can bring more people into this thing. Or if it's your story, thank you so much for sending it. No matter what, we appreciate it. Robin, if folks had a story like that to send us, where can they send it?
You can send it to our email, storytime@scaryish.com. You can also go to our website, scaryish.com. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there to check out, but if you go to our Contact Us page, there's a form. You just fill out that form and send it to us that way. And we also have a whole bunch of social media. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. You can check us out on there. Send us a message, all that fun stuff.
Yes, indeedy. Feed the needy. Pretty good shit.
What's the... Okay.
I haven't said that in so long. I don't know why I stopped saying it, but I'm going to start saying it again. All right, so we have 4 wonderful stories for you. I assume they're wonderful. They were edited by Spooky Mom, so she didn't give the X-nay on any of them. They've got to be good. And I believe Robin is going to go first.
Okay.
I would say do your long one, and then I'll do my short one, and then we'll do commercial, and then I'll come back and do my long one, and then you can do your short one, and then we'll be done.
All right, thank you for telling me how to do my job.
Sometimes you just pick randomly, so I'm just like, all right, let me make sure and give proper instruction, and then we'll be good to go. So, fun stuff, fun times, fun in the sun. Okie dokie artichoke.
All right. So this first email here begins, hey, you two.
Hello.
That's us. We're the two.
We are the two.
My name is Sophia, and I'm from Chicago-ish, Illinois.
I'm from Chicago-ish, Indiana, if you can believe that.
My mom and I love horror and spooky-ish things. Jesus. My mom and... Oh, God, I can't.
Your glasses are right next to you. Oh, they're in your hand. Never mind. I'll shut the fuck up now. Oh, I thought they were in your hand. They're right next to you. Just so you know.
My mom and I love horror and spooky-ish things. She recommended your podcast to me, and I've been loving it. That is absolutely adorable.
Shout out to your mom.
That your mom was the one like, hey, you got to listen to this. Great. It's amazing. All you moms out there, you guys are awesome. I have a bit of a story with a bit of background to kind of explain it. It's a little long, and I'm writing it all down in one sitting, so I apologize for run-on sentences. What's hard for me about writing is I usually write how I talk.
Right.
So, punctuation, not the best.
Or tons of commas. That's the other thing that people do is they put tons of commas in for all their vocal pauses. It's like one of the first things they teach you in 101 in like college, like, don't write how you talk. And some people never get past it. So.
I always put LOL in
Oh my God, that's the worst. Please do not put abbreviations like that or emojis or emoticons into your writing.
In literature, yeah.
It's fine if it's an email to us. We don't care. But if you're like making an essay for school or something, leave that stuff out.
All right. I'm Muslim, and we believe in things called jinn, which aren't ghosts, but spirit beings who live among us. There are good and bad jinn. The good ones help you, and the bad ones, well, they're the ones who act like assholes by pretending to be ghosts. At least that's how I interpreted it. What's funny is there are a lot of horror movies out there or supernatural shows like Supernatural
episodes
that cover jinn.
Right.
There's that game for Game Boy Advance. I don't know if you ever played it. Golden Sun. That was
I did play Golden Sun.
Yeah,
I didn't get too far into it.
Where you actually use jinn. They're like part of your battle tactic or whatever. But it's really cool that we're getting an email about it because I honestly haven't looked into it that much. And I'm really curious. Thank you. When I was 9 years old, I went through a phase where I was afraid of everything. I saw a video game about zombies, and I was convinced they were going to get me. During this time, I wouldn't sleep at night in my own bed and would crawl into my younger brother's bed, or I would sleep on my parents' floor. Amongst the fear of zombies coming to get me through the window, I always was afraid of, quote, the shadow stick figure guys, end quote, as I called them. I would see them everywhere, in the hallway, at the store, at my friends' houses, and even at my grandma's.
That's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, that is another story for another time, but if you guys are interested, I'll share it. Feel free to share it.
Start writing it right now.
They were tall and skinny and looked like they were made out of black mist. I would have dreams about them trapping me in a bubble and taunting me from the outside. At this time, my bed was right in front of my bedroom door, which I kept open at all times. See zombie and window thing. I would lay there and look down the hall, worried that the black stick figure guys were going to come down the hall and trap me. One night, I'd finally fallen asleep only to wake up and be stuck in my bed. What I now know is sleep paralysis. I was able to stare down the hallway and started to panic because the stick figure guys were in the hall and slowly moving towards my room. It felt like hours until I was able to move again. And that was when I screamed and cried to my parents, who were not happy. That night, my dad explained to me what jinn are and that those were just the bad jinn trying to scare me, but they couldn't hurt me because, quote unquote, God wouldn't let them.
Nice. That's a reassuring thing to tell someone, without a doubt.
Since then, I have been fearless of the dark and fearless of creepy things going on in the night and day. I don't see them very much anymore, but once in a while, I'll catch them out of the corner of my eye, and the fear just kind of creeps in all over again. Thank you guys for having a Storytime area open. I've been thinking about submitting this for a while, but was anxious. It feels good to finally have it all down in writing since I think about it all the time, and it's good to get it off my chest. You guys are great, and I hope you keep going strong. Sincerely, Sophia. Thank you much, Sophia, for sending in your story. That's really interesting that these were just things that you saw absolutely everywhere you went. Because it's on that level. They're not like just imaginary friends or whatever. They're freaking everywhere, and they're creepy looking. And it seems like mist figures are pretty common in a lot of different stories and things like that, where people just see these dark, just creepy looking figures. Yeah. The fact that you said stick figures too, right? Yeah. Like there were random dark stick figures. That just, I don't know why that makes me think, oh, those things must be the bad djinn because they don't sound benevolent if they're like made of sticks. Just the way I pictured is like the tall man from Conjuring 2. It kind of looks like those things in the Blair Witch Project game. Oh yeah, that totally reminds me of that. But who knows, man? I always try and say don't judge a book by its cover because you never know whether or not something that's benevolent just might look hideous, like hideous in quotes, to what you think something would look like. I always say this, like angels could be hideous, like to the human eye, and we would see them and be like, "Oh my God, it's a demon," and they'd be like, "Oh, you dickhead," and they'd leave you. So it's really interesting. I'd like to hear more of your stories. Please send in more. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move into the second email of the show. The subject for this one is, yes, you can read this on the podcast. Thanks. Smiley face, solid subject, appreciate it. Starts out like this. Hi, Robin and Adam. Hello, that's us.
Hello. Just wanted to say that I love your podcast so much.
And we love you for loving it.
Yeah, we do. This is a short story, but I thought it was spooky enough to share with the podcast. In January of this year, my family and I traveled to Boone to ski. We stayed in this cabin. One night, I wonder where Boone is. One night, my dad and his girlfriend were sleeping. They told me this story the morning after. They both woke up in the middle of the night to realize the TV was on. It was on static. And then in parentheses it says, spooky.
We should check if that movie is on Prime, the White Noise movie.
Okay.
Because it's all about like TV static and like things on the other side. That would be a good one for our if you guys don't know, Saturdays, we do watch parties on Twitch. And it's whatever movies are included in Amazon Prime. And so if you
have to have Amazon Prime to watch along with us.
If you folks have any horror movie recommendations that are on Amazon Prime, let us know. And then maybe you can join us on Twitch and watch it on some Saturdays.
Indeed. So, TV was on static. Spooky. I saw Static and I thought of the album Start Static by Sugar Cult and remembered I used to listen to that when I was 16.
Sugar High.
Man, that's a much better song than anything Sugar Cult's ever put out. All right.
Is Sugar Cult the one that did that song Memory?
I don't know.
Okay.
You always ask me about, like, did they do this song? And it's none of their singles. So I'm like, I have no idea.
Okay.
It's the songs I skipped over on the album. The email continues. This was extra creepy because they hadn't even touched the TV the whole time they were at the cabin. They hadn't rolled over on the remote or anything because the remote was still on a dresser on the other side of the room. They told me about this the next morning, and I was spooked out. Sorry if this story was really short. I love your podcast so much. You guys are literally the best. I hope you're both doing good. Stay spooky, Amelia.
Thank you so much, Amelia, for sending that story in. Yeah, the idea that this TV would just turn on its own, especially to static. It's very difficult to do that, I think, in this day and age when everything's run off HDMI.
Right.
So whenever there's no HDMI plugged in, it's not static. It just says no signal, right? So the idea that this thing flipped all the way to TV, and static is just super scary to me, especially because just static in general freaks me out. if you folks have watched Poltergeist, you could understand why.
God, I love that movie.
Or if back in the day your power went out and turned back on and your TV turned on to static at the loudest volume possible.
Talk about that one.
PTSD. But yeah. So thank you, Amelia, for that.
It doesn't matter if it's short. We always want to hear it, and thank you so much for sending it. We appreciate you. So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. All right, so I'm going to move on to my second and the third overall email for the show. Subject for this one is, you can read this on the pod. Guys are killing it tonight. It's not the same email, I swear. Starts out like this. Hey there, Adam and Robin.
Hello.
Hello. See, I went first this time. Last time it was Robin and Adam. My name's Rachel. I'm 22 years old, and I love y'all's podcast. Thank you so much.
For some reason, I was like, no, your name's Adam.
Wow. A friend told me about you guys back in November, and I've been listening and getting caught up ever since. I live in Central Florida and work as a neuro ICU nurse at night. Holy shit, that's intense. So I get to work through the witching hour. Smiley face. This might be a long one, so strap on, Robin. Insert laughing emoji. She's drinking right now, and I'm really glad she didn't do a spit take all over the equipment. Anyways, here's a story about a ghost I was living with last year. My ex-boyfriend, we'll call him Bob, so I'm not typing my ex over and over. Please know that's not his actual name. It's obviously totally Bob or Robert. And I were together for 6 years.
Dang.
But we broke up. Don't worry. I'm fine.
Okay, good.
The last year or two of the relationship, I lived at his house with his mother and older brother. They owned 20 acres of farm surrounded by trees, so it was pretty peaceful.
20 acres is a lot of acres.
Yeah. Before I met them, when Bob was about 5, his grandpa on his mother's side, Old Pappy, as they called him, had suffered from Alzheimer's and went to live with them so his mother could take care of him, as her own mother couldn't do it anymore. He would sometimes wander down the road trying to go to church or play tricks on his grandchildren, which was Bob and his brother, as they were fairly young at the time. Old Pappy and Bob were known to get into trouble. They were partners in crime. Eventually, I keep saying Old Pappy, it's Old Pap. This is my bad. Eventually, Old Pap passed in the house, still a long time before I met Bob. He actually went while sleeping in the room that eventually became Bob's dad's. I remember them telling me stories about Old Pap, his ghost, fucking with them randomly, little things like making the DVD player spit the DVD out over and over while you're trying to start a movie until you finally yell, "Damn it, Old Pap, knock it off," and it would stop. Or Bob's dad saying that sometimes he would feel someone get into bed next to him, but when he turned around expecting to see Bob's mom, no one was there.
That's creepy.
You could see the indent in the bed like someone was laying there. That's terrifying.
If horror movies have taught me anything, it's going to be a really creepy looking corpse.
Oh my god. I would just laugh thinking they were bullshitting me because I spent a lot of time at the house alone. While everyone was at work, I would be home studying as I was in nursing school. There were days where I would feel uneasy and I'd get sketched out, so I would have a shotgun in every room I planned to be in that day. Bedroom, kitchen, laundry room, living room. We had a lot of guns. And yes, I have experience with guns and gun safety. I wouldn't just pick up some random guns. Half of them were mine anyways.
Shotguns are not cheap.
No, they're not. But hopefully they're loaded with rock salt so you can fight the ghost.
Or the flies. Have you seen it? Those rock salt guns?
Yeah, you can.
Those are so cool.
I mean, if you're using an actual shotgun and rock salt to kill a single fly, that's kind of overkill. But effective. Bob's mom would come home and laugh because she knew what feeling I was talking about and said it was just Old Pap watching me. I still didn't believe them until one day I was cleaning. No one was home but me and the dogs. I was in the bathroom scrubbing the shower with my back to the door. I knew I left the door wide open because the fumes always made me lightheaded, so I needed fresh air to come in. I heard a knock on the door like maybe the dog hit it with her butt, in parentheses, she didn't have a tail, like she sometimes did to get attention to go outside, if I didn't hear her whining first. But I walked out and saw the dog sleeping under the kitchen table across the house, so I shook it off, went back to cleaning. Soon after, I was about to stand up and turn around to leave when the door slammed shut behind me. I was so shaken I put everything I was holding in my hands down, opened the door, and walked straight out of the house, calling the dog to come with me because I was so scared and maybe she could protect me, ? LOL. But I went to the front porch, which was really like a deck. It went down the length of the front of the house and had a section of stairs in front of the front door. I usually would sit there to get fresh air and look at the big oak trees in their front yard. The porch was also covered by a tin roof to match the rest of the house, and the roof had rafters that I used to hang the mop on to dry when I cleaned, and usually the mop sat above, to the right, of the steps I sat on. The mop was hanging there when me and the dog sat at the steps. I got on my phone to call Bob, but before he picked up, the mop went flying off the porch and into the front yard like someone threw it. There was no wind, and no one else touched the mop. Also, no one was home. I would know because you can see the driveway through the front windows of the house, so when someone pulled in, you would see them from the kitchen. Anyway, so I just felt like I needed to yell out the magic words, "Damn it, old pap, knock it off." But I couldn't even yell. It was like a mumble at that point. But he stopped messing with me after that, so I guess it worked. Sorry that was such a long story, but I hope it was interesting for you guys. It absolutely was. Like I said, you can read it on the pod if you want. Smiley face. I have other stories, like one about my dream where I sat at a bar and the devil is the bartender. Weird. I know. I'll have to type that one out one day. Love you guys. I hope all is well during these rough times. Stay safe out there.
So when I imagine the devil being the bartender, I imagine the devil from Futurama.
Wow. I was totally imagining Tom Ellis. I think it's Tom Ellis from Lucifer.
Oh, from Lucifer? Yeah. I could see that one too.
He seems like he would be a nice bartender.
Okay, yeah. So. I just imagine the robot devil and him just being absolutely ridiculous over the top. But yeah, no, I think being, visited by this particular ghost and, him being just this...
prankster.
It's
like, I'm going to scare you. Like, I'm going to scare the shit out of you. Once you get mad, I'll leave you be.
But throwing a mop is kind of scary.
Slamming a door is kind of scary too, but like, if this was stuff that was happening from a person who was alive, you'd be like, why are you being a dick?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be something you were scared about, you'd just be annoyed. So he crossed over, decided to continue these antics. They become more frightening because you can't see anyone. But once you yelled at him, he was like, fine, whatever, go back to cleaning. So I think it's a wonderful story. Thank you so much for sending it in. We want to hear the other stuff. It was wonderfully written. We never care if they're long. That was fantastic. So definitely thank you so much. I want to hear more of your adventures, I suppose.
In babysitting.
Right on.
This last email of the night is titled My Haunted House. Love it.
Solid subject.
Putting our toes into, or dipping our toes. We have a taste of what it's going to be about.
We're strapping on.
Hello. Jinx Yomi Coke. I have recently discovered your podcast and have been chugging away from episode 0 on Spotify. I figured I would share one of my stories now, and I might get to hear it when I get caught up. Feel free to read it on the podcast. This is it. This is the podcast. It's here. So,
this is your story.
When I was 10, my family moved to a small oil field boomtown in North Texas, but by the time we moved there, it had been over for several decades, so it was a sad little town. The only house we could live in was one built in the 30s that had old-style wooden floors. This'll come into play later.
Uh-oh.
Almost immediately, I had a bad feeling about my room and did not want to sleep in it. Throughout the day and early evenings, we would also hear what sounded like car doors slamming in the carport, which is like the driveway.
Right.
But there was never a vehicle there. And I can totally imagine this happening where you're sitting there and the exact sound of the car door slamming. I think that's absolutely strange that you would be hearing that and there's no car there because it's a very distinct sound.
Right.
For Christmas that year, my grandparents came to visit and I gladly yielded my room to them and camped out on the living room couch.
Take my terrifyingly haunted room, Grandma and Grandpa. Enjoy.
That night, I heard someone walking down the hall. See, I told you the floors had come into play. So they heard this person walking down the hall and then into the living room where they stopped in front of the couch. I reluctantly opened my eyes and no one was standing where the steps stopped. That is why when I wake up out of nightmares, I do not open my eyes because I just, there's that fear there, and you're braver than I for having opened your eyes. I would never do that. That's absolutely terrifying. Come summertime, we were moving back to my hometown, and my dad had moved first, leaving my mom and myself at the house. My mom was at work.
Smart guy.
What the fuck?
Just kidding.
That's such a piece of shit thing to say. My mom was at work, and I was home alone when I heard the usual phantom car door slam, followed immediately by a violent rattling of the locked front door. I grabbed my dad's 1911 pistol and raced to the front door, but no one was there. Lots of
people are strapped this episode, I'm just saying. It's impressive.
I suppose out of a foolish sense of bravery, I decided to walk around the house to see if anyone was there or not. I can only imagine what any passerbys thought on the matter as they saw a 10-year-old boy walking around a house with a giant pistol in his hand. No one was found, and when we finally moved out, my mom admitted to me that she had sensed something in the house as well.
It's like, we're gone now, so I'm going to tell you, we were in danger.
I have a couple of other stories, and will try to share my encounter with a malevolent entity with you later. Thanks, Josh. Thank you so much, Josh, for sharing your story. That's really creepy that your mom later on was like, no, dog. There was weird stuff happening.
Was something going on.
The fact, though, that I don't know why parents do this, but they hide these things from their kids, and their kids obviously feel something.
Right.
And sense something strange.
Lots of parents think they're protecting their kids. Like, that's something they're doing to protect their kids. I think some parents out there think that if they keep them unaware, they won't be as scared. Or possibly, if they keep them unaware, they're basically bait, and they can get away when the demon captures their kid. So that's just another way to look at it. But I don't know. I want to hear the rest of your stories. I want to hear about this malevolent entity that you have referenced. So please send us the other story, and that way when you catch up again, you can hear us read that one. So
nice.
Thank you so much for sending that in.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for Storytime. We are so thankful that you take the time out of your day to listen to all these stories that our fellow spooky friends actually take time out of their day to write and send to us. You guys are absolutely awesome. I do want to give everybody a reminder that at the end of the month, there will be a Patreon giveaway. So if you folks aren't patrons yet, you can go over to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. They're monthly donations, but it does start at $1. And with $1, you get ad-free episodes, which is not a bad deal.
And early access to all of our content. It's only $4 a month. That's less than a candy bar and a vending machine nowadays. Just saying.
And so if you're a patron, on the last day of August, the 31st, there will be a drawing. Adam will do all that fun stuff, and whoever he randomly draws out of the group will be sent a Scary-ish mug. So if you guys want one of those, head on over, patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Thank you.
If you have a story you'd like to send our way, we would love to hear it. We would love to read it. If you don't want us to read it on the air, but you would just like to tell someone about it, we do get those from time to time. We totally understand. Sometimes you just want to tell someone, hey, this happened. I don't want to feel like I'm crazy. We completely understand. You can reach out to us with those as well. You can email storytime@scarish.com or go to our website, scarish.com, and click on Contact Us. There's a form there. Just fill it out. It's super simple. It comes directly to us. Or you can hit us up on any of our social medias. Facebook is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod, and Instagram is @scarishpodcast. We would love to hear from you. And there's one more way you can donate, which is just a one-time, one-shot donation. It's not a monthly transaction. Robin, how can they do that?
You can go to ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. Those are all one-time donations. And anything you folks donate to us, whether it be through Patreon or through the streams or through Ko-fi, it all helps us keep making more content, gives us a little bit more time to focus on scary-ish stuff and being able to upgrade our studio setup and, get new technologies when things die and stuff like that. And we really couldn't be here without you guys. So thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you for all your support. We felt it, especially this month. When we took some time off, we put out the Scene Missing preview because of the stuff that we had going on in our lives. It means the world to us that you folks are there for us, and it really does mean a lot to us when you let us know that we've been there for you somehow inadvertently by putting out this silly show. So it's an amazing community that's built up around us, and we just can't say thanks often enough. So thank you one last time. I think that's everything we have for Storytime number 133, I think it was. So, Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.